everybody. Let's start the daily discussion. First topic is essential program on immunization. This is a topic in paper 2. The year 2024 marked the 50th anniversary of the launch of the expanded program on immunization by the World Health Organization, which was launched in 1974. Immunization. That means the program to immunize the children from vaccine preventable diseases. WHO, the World Health Organization, So India launched this expanded program on immunization in 1978 and conducted the last national independent evaluation in 2004. This milestone presents an opportunity to access, progress and envision the future essential program on immunization. So Indian Mission Indradhanush is the largest immunization program in the world. Okay, it is the largest immunization program run in the world. And India is also largest manufacturer and exporter of different vaccines. This milestone presents an opportunity to access, progress and envision the future essential program on immunization. How much progress India has made and world made in immunization globally? Vaccines have expanded from 6 diseases in 1974 to 13 universally recommended and 17 context-specific diseases today. Research going on for 125 more pathogens. In case with the passage of time, so the vaccines are developed for them, then human being will get a great relief. Okay, the percentage of children receiving 3 doses of DPT, diphtheria, tetanus, rose to 5% in low and middle income country in the 1970s to 84% globally by 2024, near 5% to 84%. Smallpox have been eradicated, polio eliminated from all but 2 countries, and many vaccine preventable diseases have nearly disappeared. In India, coverage increased yearly with 76% of the children receiving recommendation vaccines in 2019-22. Studies show vaccines have saved millions of lives, prevented billions of hospitalizations, and are highly cost effective with 7-11 times return on investment. What the government and the parents spends on vaccination is very less as compared to the cost of hospitalization. In case they are admitted due to that syndrome, if not vaccinated, and if vaccinated, it saved them to a considerable extent, not only from the illness but also from the financial burden. Okay, so $11 times non-investment. In 2020, these were the challenges. In 2023, UNICEF said childhood immunization coverage dropped. The first time in the over 10 years, there are 14.3 million children with no dose and 6.2 million partially immunized children worldwide in 2022. They need to be immunized, but they have not been. Despite increasing coverage in India, persistent inequalities exist based on geography, socioeconomic status, and other parameters exist. Need to focus on audit adult vaccination. Vaccines have always been intended for individuals of all age groups. However, due to limited supply and resources in the past, children were prioritized. Because more children are getting vaccinated, disease that vaccines can prevent are now affecting more adults and older people. It necessitates a focus on immunization throughout a personal style. Initially, vaccination was done for the children, but right now diseases are emerging which is affecting the adults, and they need special attention, and they need to be vaccinated. The number of adult persons is growing in the country, so the requirement of vaccine for them will definitely increase. Okay, so because more children are getting vaccinated, disease that vaccine can prevent are now affecting more adult and older people. The National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization NATAGI should provide recommendation on adult and elderly vaccine use. After NATAGI recommendations, vaccine for all ages could be made available as free at the government facilities. Proactively address myth and misconception about vaccines through professional communication, agency, and public education. Medical college and research institutions should generate evidence on the burden of disease in the adult population. India should conduct another independent nationwide. Okay, so another independent national level review of the universal immunization program, engaging India has launched a pilot initiative for the adult BCG vaccination as part of effort to end retail tuberculosis. The COVID-19 vaccination drive has sensitized the public to the need for benefits of adult vaccination. Way forward, India should expand the program to focus on zero-dose children, address cover inequalities, and offer vaccine to adult and elderly. The time to transform the EPI into an essential program on immunization for all age groups, not confined to children only. Next is welfare scheme for vulnerable section of the social population by the center and state and the performance of these schemes. This is topic in paper 2 on social sector initiatives. The Street Vendor Acts 2014 was a big step towards after almost 30 years of legal discussion and activism by street vendor groups throughout India. The article highlights the challenges in its implementation since its inception. The Street Vendor Act. Objective: to aim to safeguard and manage street vending in cities by sending up rules at the state level and implementing them through urban local bodies. Key provisions: accommodating all existing vendors in vending zones and issuing vending certificates, establishing a particularly participatory governance structure through town vending committees with 40% representation for street vendor representatives and 33% for women street vendors, because it has well been established that the number of women street vendors is increasing in the country. So okay, so objective to aim to safeguard and manage street vending in cities. By vending city by setting up rules at the state level and implementing them through the urban local bodies or ULP. Okay. Accommodating all existing vendors in vending zones and issuing vending certificates, establishing a participatory governance structure through town vending committee with 40% representation from street vendors, representatives, and 33% of women street vendors. Okay, there should be recognized, but street vending is more in urban area than in the rural area. Mechanism for addressing grievances and dispute through a grievance redressal committee. Okay, that is another requirement which has been felt as most important one. setting up a precedent for inclusive and participatory approaches to address street vending needs in cities. Significance of street vending for urban India. Street vendors, comprising about 2.5% of the city population, serve diverse function in city life. Local vegetable seller and food vendors are essential providers of daily services. A vendor may make city life affordable for others by providing vital link in the food, nutrition, and good distribution chain at reasonable price. They are integral part of the Indian culture. For example, imagine Mumbai without its vada pav or Chennai without its roadside dosa. So we cannot think of life in these cities without challenges in the implementation of the Street Vendors Act. Administrative challenge and increased harassment and eviction of street vendors, contrary to the Act's emphasis on protection and regulation. Outdated bureaucratic mindset, being vendors are illegal entities. Lack of awareness and sensitization about the Act among authorities and public and vendors themselves. Limited influence of street vending representatives in the town planning committee and tokenistic approach of women vendors. Governance challenges, weak existing urban governance mechanism, lack of integration with the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of Urban Governance, insufficient power and capacities of the urban local bodies, top-down urban policy like the Smart City Mission, ignoring the Act provisions for vendor inclusion. Societal challenges, the prevailing image of the world-class city tend to be exclusionary, marginalizing and stigmatizing street vendors. City planning, policies and how people are then see them perceive vendors as obstacles to urban growth rather than valued participants in the urban economy. Way forward, decentralized approach. Initially, guidance and control should come from the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. However, over time, this need to be decentralized over time to ensure effectiveness in addressing the diverse needs and context of street vendors nationwide. For example, the PM Sonidhi scheme was launched in the post-COVID period to provide. Okay, so way forward, decentralized approach. Initially, guideline and control should come from the Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs. However, over time, this need to be decentralized over time to ensure effectiveness in addressing the diverse needs and context of street vendors nationwide. For example, PM Swanidhi. Role of the ULBs. ULB need to improve their ability to plan for street vending in cities. Instead of top-down action from department, there should be more thoughtful discussion at the level of the TBC, urban scheme, city planning guidelines and policy need to be amended to include street vending. Addressing emerging challenges in street vending, there is a need to address emerging challenges like climate change impact, surge in vendor numbers, e-commerce competitor, and reduce incomes. Innovative measures, the National Urban Livelihood Mission street vendor subcomponents should facilitate innovative measures to address changing realities. Okay, then social justice, next topic, labor force in India, International Labor Day, also known as the May Day or Workers' Day, celebrated as a public holiday around the world to celebrate the contribution of workers on the International Labor Day. About labor force uh, or currently active population comprises all persons who fulfill the requirement for inclusion among the employed, civilian employment plus the armed forces on or the unemployed. Labor force in India can be divided into organized and unorganized sector. In the year 2017-18, the total employment in both the sectors of the country is around 47 crore. Out of this, around 9 crore are engaged in the organized sector and 38 crore are in the unorganized sector, daily wage basis. First May Day in India, the first May Day celebration were organized in May 1st, 1923 in Chennai by the Labour Kisan Party of Hindustan, led by Singalepu Chettiar. Okay, so Treaty of Versailles, it was the first international treaty to mention the 8-hour work day, which is the annex of its 13th part established on the International Labour Office. Now the International Labour Organization called, so earlier it was known as the International Labour Office, which is right now called as the International Labour Organization. Hours of Work Industry Convention in 1919, it limits the hour of work in industrial undertaking to 8 in a day and 48 in the week. 6 days in a week, so 48 hours in a week, and 8 days per day, 8 hours per day. Declaration of Philadelphia on May 10, 1944, the International Labour Conference adopted it. It represents the first international declaration of rights with international vocation, fundamental charter of reference for the ILO and for all the systems of labor law. Current trend of labor in India, dominance of informal sector. As per Indian Employment Report 2024, approximately 82% of the workforce work in the informal sector. Labor force data from the international labor organizations show that in India, as of 2021, only 51.3% of the working age population was part of the labor force. Workforce statistics in 2020, there were around 501 million workers in India, the second largest after China, out of which agriculture industry consists of 41.19%. Industrial sector consists 26.18% and service sector consists of 32.33% of the total labor force. That means after the agriculture, although agriculture's net contribution to GDP is falling, but the labor force participation in agriculture is highest. So the people engaged in agriculture remain comparatively low earners. Constitutional provisions of workers in India. Another question for India, labor is a subject in the concurrent list where both the central and the state government are competent to enact legislation subject to certain matters being reserved for the center. Judicial intervention. The Supreme Court in the Randhir Singh versus Union of India and others in 1982 held that equal pay for equal work is not a mere democratic slogan, it is a constitutional goal. Okay. So, under the Constitution of India, labor is a subject in the concurrent list where both the central and the state government are competent to enact legislation subject to certain matter being reserved for the central. Judicial intervention, the Supreme Court in the Randhir versus Singh versus Union of India and those 1982 held that equal pay for equal work is not a mere democratic slogan. It is a constitutional goal accept capable of attaining through constitutional remedies by the enforcement of constitutional rights. Article 39D of the Constitution in the DPSP, the constitutional goal of equal pay for equal work for both men and women. Article 14 and 19 guarantee respect to the fundamental rights of equality before law and equality of opportunity in the matter of public employment. Article 32 provides the remedy for the enforcement of the fundamental rights. That means these are the law relating to labor issue or workers issue in the constitution. Here are some government initiated interventions. E-Shram portal. It aims to collect data of unorganized workers, including the migrant workers, to implement the social security schemes. PM Okay. Then the PM Samjogi Mandan, it is a government scheme meant for old age protection and social security of unorganized workers. Atal Pension Yojana, an old age income security scheme, a saving account. Street Vendors Protection Liability and Regulation Street Vending Act. It aims to protect and regulate street vending in cities. Major issue faced by the labor in India: low wage and wage disparity. Majority of the worker earn a daily minimum wage of 176 or more, which is insufficient to meet their basic needs. National wage floor segment since 2017. Lack of enforceability. Okay, across states and leads to wage payment discrepancies across different states. The non-statutory floor level minimum wage remains a mere 178, meaning constant for at least few years. Lack of Okay, so lack of job and social security. With the majority of the workforce working in the informal sector, it is devoid of job security and legal protections. There is high prevalence of contract employment, which leaves workforce vulnerable and uncertain. Child labor. According to ILO, child labor refers to work that deprive children, any person under 18, of their livelihood, their potential, and their dignity, and that is harmful to their physical and mental development. Bonded labor. National Human Rights Commission of India defines bonded labor as a form of slavery known as debt bondage, which has persisted for centuries, where laborers are compelled to work for extended periods while receiving minimal compensation. Only 1 million out of the 63 million Indian enterprises and approximately 7.5% of the 550 million labor force contribute to monthly social security. That means they are enrolled in social security schemes like the pension, provident funds, etc. Okay, so child labor, as National Crime Bureau report 2022, in 2021, around 982 cases were registered under the Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act in the country. Okay, so the figure saw a significant increase from 476 cases registered under the Act in 2020. That means from 2020, from 476, it has increased to 982. That means it is increasing. Then bonded labor, the research study titled Assessing Budgetary Priority for the Rehabilitation of Bonded Labor underscores that the prevalence of bonded labor is a significant issue within the informal sector of the Indian economy. The study highlights that approximately 10% of the India's workforce fall under the classification of the bonded labor. Individual trapped in bonded labor encounter challenges like prolonged working hours, coercion, irregular and absent wages, indebtedness due to loans or social obligations, and limitations on mobility between employers. Gender discrimination. In the labor market, women workers experience harassment at work, unequal compensation for equal work, and limited access to formal employment opportunities. A recent World Bank Group report found that women receive only 77% of the every $1 paid to males, underscoring the gender pay disparity. Migrant worker rights. Migrant laborers experience discrimination, exploitation, and limited access to social services. They face problems like debt bondage, lack of legal protection, and inadequate housing where they stay. Worker safety: every year, India registers the death of hundreds of workers due to insignificant and unreliable safety measures in factories and construction sites. According to the government data, 3 workers die every day in Indian factories due to a lack of basic safety measures. Execution challenges: the Street Vendors Protection of Livelihood and Regulation and Street Vending Act does not integrate well with the framework established by the 47th Amendment Act for urban governance. Okay. So, according to government data, 3 workers die every day in Indian factory due to the lack of basic safety measures. Execution challenges: the Street Vendor Protection of Livelihood and Regulation. Okay, scheme like the Smart Cities mission mostly focus on infrastructure development and ignore the provisions of the Act for the inclusion of street vendors in city planning. Labor reforms in India: the Ministry of Labor and Employment introduced 4 Code of Consolidated 29 Central Law based on the recommendation of the Second National Commission on Labor. These codes regulate wages, industrial relations, social security, occupational safety, health and working condition. Key features of the Labor Code: the Code of Wage 2019, it aims to bring uniformity in the implementation of legal policies governing the payment of wages. It states that the minimum wage cannot be fixed below the national wage floor. However, this code, which is binding on all states, is yet to be implemented fully. Code on Social Security in 2020, it sought to provide a statutory framework to enable social security for the urban and rural poor, construction workers, gig and informal sector workers. It proposed the provisions of life insurance, disability insurance, accident insurance, as well as maternity and health care benefits, along with old age protection and crèche facility for the gig workers. Industrial Relation Code 2020. It provides a broader framework to protect the rights of workers, to make unions, to reduce the friction between the employers and the workers, and to provide regulations workers and to provide regulations for settlement of industrial disputes. Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020. It emphasized the health, safety and welfare of workers employed in various sectors. Issue with the current labor reforms, lack of social security to informal sector. The Code on Social Security in 2020 does not cover the contract worker who shift from one occupation to another in search of their livelihood. Example, construction workers. Occupational safety remains unaddressed. Industrial safety continue to be grave concern even after the enactment of the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code. No protection to contractual workers, workers in the already comparatively small formal sector. Job in the formal sector are increasingly being casualized. Sanitation, waste worker in civil services. Earlier they are permanent workers, right now they are being outsourced and being made contractual workers, and contractual workers are comparatively less with less social security. Okay, so occupational safety remains unaddressed. Industrial safety continue to be a grave concern even after the enactment of the Occupational Safety, Health Working Condition Code. No protection to contractual workers, workers in the already comparatively small formal sector. Job in the formal sector are increasingly being casualized, especially civil services. The manufacturing sector too now largely relies on contracted labors. Provision of permanent employment and regularization, which existed in the subsumed contractual labor act 1970, now do not exist. Violation of principle of ILO. The new code violates leading principle and standards laid down by the ILO. The code have been passed without a tripartite consultation between the worker, employers and the government representatives as recommended, and have attached the powers of collective bargaining by rendering all strike illegal. Neglect of subspecific workers, sector specific workers. The repeal of the Building and Other Construction Workers Act 1996 point to the insensitivity to sector specific problems. The repeal of sector law has been accompanied by the repeal of 10 cases that founded welfare schemes for salt mining and video workers, among others. Exclusion of domestic workers. The Occupational Safety Code excludes private households, and thus all provisions on safety, health and working conditions would not be applied. So domestic worker are also not specifically mentioned in the Code on Social Security. India has ratified the ILO Domestic Worker Convention 8189 Convention aimed at safeguarding domestic workers. Overlap in definition, provision have been made for separate board for unorganized workers and gig platforms workers in the Code on Social Security 2020. Stricter provisions on strikes, the Code on Industrial Relations has made legal strikes nearly impractical. Legal strikes now entitle significant penalties. Way forward, decentralizing street vending interventions. There is a strong need. Okay, so to decentralize interventions, enhance the capacities of urban local body to plan for street vending in cities. As mandated by the Street Vendors Act, street vendor representatives must constitute 40% of the TVC members with a sub-representation of 30% women street vendors. Comprehensive national legislation for informal worker. The trade unions demand is to preserve their right to core labor principles. This includes the right to collect bargaining, grievance redressal and dispute settlement, fair minimum wages and minimum guaranteed income, and minimum employment guarantee including in urban areas. Their entitlement to social security including employee state insurance coverage and pensions must be guaranteed through the GST, state and union budget. Reinstating sector specific law for worker protection. The sector specific law which have been subsumed must be reversed so that workers can meet their sector specific needs. Instead of attempting to consolidate existing labor legislation, effort must be made to draft specific legislation to cater to the needs of informal workers in specific sectors such as home-based workers, domestic workers, and those who work in the common. Registration of domestic workers. This could help workers not only as proof of employment in the event of any violation. Okay. The amendment in definitions. Amendment need to be done in the area of definitions in the code, especially in terms of properly differentiating employee and workmen, as well as recognizing and defining other classes and subclass of labor. The definitions of unorganized sector needs to be modified so that it is more inclusive and has more clarity. Utilizing data from Labor Bureau, trade union could have utilized data on strike and lockouts published by Labor Bureau, revealing that lockout occur more frequently and result in more workdays lost than strikes during the post-reform era. Excel school principle. The Supreme Court has rejected the application of Excel school rule and is noted compensation of 5 lakh awarded by the district consumer forum in a medical negligence case. Okay, it is a common law principle applied in civil litigation, meaning it is applied when the offender could be liable for all injury that might be intensified due to the pre-existing conditions of the injured person that the offender might be unaware of. The fairity of the person cannot be used as a defense to escape liability. The rule is applied for claiming an enhanced compensation for damage that is more than what could have been usually anticipated to be caused by the defendant. In the case of Bosworth versus Putney, the concept of Excel school rule was developed for the first time. Explain with an example. Imagine a person with an extremely thin skull, as fragile as a Excel, even though the person looks completely normal. This person is hit in the head by someone else unaware of the delicate nature of the person's head. A normal person could have been a little injured, but the person with the Excel skull dies. As per the Excel rule, the person who hit the Excel skull person will be responsible for the extreme consequences the person has suffered and not just the amount of harm a normal person would have suffered. It is often called as the thin skull rule. It is a case of medical negligence, thereby a 2.5 cm foreign body needles was left behind in the patient's abdomen when she had her appendix removed in a hospital in Himachal Pradesh, Mandi district in 2005. The District Consumer Forum awarded 5 lakh to the patient for medical negligence by the hospital. Appeal: the State Consumer Forum reduced the compensation to 1 lakh on an appeal by the hospital, which was enhanced it to 2 lakhs by the National Consumer Dispute Redressal Commission while applying the Excel school rule. The Supreme Court restored the District Forum's decision on compensation, stating two reasons for enhancing the compensation. The patient had suffered pain for more than 5 years and the case took more than a decade to be decided. Rejected the Excel rule. It ruled it could not apply in this case because there is no pre-existing vulnerability or medical condition which get exacerbated by the negligence, because of which the victim may have suffered unusual damage. Medical negligence is simply the failure to exercise due care and occurs when a doctor fails to perform to the standard of his or her profession. Okay, the defendant owe a duty of care to the plaintiff. The defendant has breached duty of care. The plaintiff has suffered an injury due to this breach. Is medical negligence covered under the Consumer Protection Act? Yes, in 1995, Supreme Court brought the medical profession under the Consumer Protection Act 1986, and medical treatment were labeled as services. Right available to patient, right of information. Patients have the right to be told about their illness and have their medical records explained, and also about the treatment, medicines prescribed to them, and should be made aware of any risk and side effect. Right to privacy. Patients have the right to maintain confidentiality regarding their illness and can expect the same from the doctor. Right to second opinion. Patients have the right to second opinion if they are doubtful about the medicines or treatment suggested. Informed consent. Consent if he or she is unconscious or unable to make the decision due to other reason. Informed consent need to be taken from their nearest relatives. Microbes producing more methane than fossil fuel. Study says a recent study has shown that methane emission from fossil fuel decreased from 1990 to 2000 and have remained steady since then. The microbes have now emerged as the main source of methane. Microbes are the primary source of new methane. The recent study have revealed that microbes are the primary source of new methane in the atmosphere. Anaerobic archaea has been intensified as a potential major source of atmospheric methane. Location of the methane releasing microbes. These microbes thrive in oxygen deficient environment. They can be found in various settings, which includes the digestive tracts of animals, wetlands, rice paddies, landfills, and sediments of lake and oceans. About the methane emission, global warming potential of methane. Methane is the second most abundant anthropogenic greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide. However, okay, so biogenetic methane, it is produced by microbial action, particularly by the methanogens. The thermogenic methane, it is released during the extraction of fossil fuel, natural gas or oil from the deep within the earth crust. Action to address methane emission. Policymakers have recently focused on addressing methane emission to combat global warming. The Global Methane Pledge was launched at the UN Climate Talk in 2021 to reduce methane emission. Project Ishan, with the idea of one nation, one airspace, India has initiated Project Ishan, Indian Single Sky Harmonized Air Traffic Management at Nagpur. This project aims to enhance the capacity of the aviation industry to handle the increasing domestic passenger numbers, which has been predicted to double by 2030. About About Project Ishan, it is an integration initiative which seeks to merge Indian 4 flight information region in Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata and Chennai into one airspace around Nagpur. In aviation, a flight information region is a specified region of airspace in which a flight information service and an alert system are provided. Aim behind this initiative is to reduce carbon footprint, enhance safety and reduce aircraft fuel uses. A single flight information region created a part of Project Ishan would offer numerous advantages in terms of safety, efficiency, user satisfaction, reduced carbon footprint and optimal manpower utilization. Challenges in implementing the Ishan initiative. There are several challenges in implementing such an standardization of technology, revision of procedure and formulation of new policies. For the better implementation of Ishan initiative, there will be requirement of uniform technology implementation across all regions, comprehensive training of air traffic control officers, policy reforms and updates to accommodate new processes and technologies. GSEC, the Reserve Bank of India has accounted this economic outcome. The foreign portfolio investors limit for investment in various securities will remain unchanged for the current financial year. Okay. The limit for the FPI investment in government securities, developed loans and corporate bonds will be maintained at 6%, 2% and 15% respectively in the outstanding stocks of security. About GSET, government security are tradable instruments issued by government through auction conducted by the RBI. They come in two: short term known as the treasury bill, which maturity of less than 1 year, and long term known as government bond or dated securities, with maturity of 1 year and more. The central government can issue both treasury bills and government bond, while state government issue only government bond, also known as state development loans. UN panel on critical energy transition mineral. Recently, the UN has formed a panel specifically focused on critical energy transition mineral. These critical minerals are generally found in the underdeveloped nations. Okay. Okay. The critical minerals are generally found in the underdeveloped nations such as African nations. The heavy demand for these minerals leading to emerging concern of resource nationalization and environmental destruction. Thus, the panel has established a foster a dialogue mechanism and prevent negative resource nationalization. The panel aimed to develop a set of global common and voluntary principles to guide the transition and accelerate the adoption of renewable energies. The objective of the panel is aligned to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the United Nations Framework Agreement on Climate Change, and its Paris Agreement. It has twofold objective: to support a just and equitable transition to renewable energy and ensure that countries and local community benefit economically while safeguarding social and environmental protections. Composition. Presently, the panel comprises 23 countries in addition to African Union, alongside 14 non-governmental organizations. Okay. To support a just and equitable transition to renewable energy, ensure that country and local community benefit economically while safeguarding social and environmental protection. Presently, the panel comprises 23 countries in addition to African Union. African Union has more than 50 members, alongside 14 non-governmental organizations representing diverse entities ranging from youth collectivity to the World Bank. Both China and United States are key members of this group. Importance of the critical energy transition mineral. Critical energy transition minerals like copper, lithium, nickel, cobalt and rare earth element are vital for clean energy technology like wind turbine, solar panel, electric vehicles and battery storage. The global shift towards renewable energy to mitigate carbon emission has increased the demand for critical minerals. Recent projections have suggested a threefold increase by 2030. K2, 18B and the dimethyl sulfide The James Webb Space Telescope is gearing up for a significant mission targeting K2-18b, a distant planet with potential for extraterrestrial life. Scientists are focusing on detecting the methyl sulfide in its atmosphere, gas primarily produced by life on Earth. Primarily, data suggest a high probability of the DMS presence. Why DMS presence is significant? The presence of the dimethyl sulfide sulfide in the atmosphere of the distant planets such as the K2-18b could indicate the possibility of extraterrestrial life on Earth. DMS is primarily produced by marine phytoplankton, making it a potential biological marker. If detected on another planet, it suggests the presence of organic or biological processes similar to those found on Earth. Discovered in 2015 during the NASA's K2 mission, located over 120 light year away from the Earth, over 8 times larger than Earth. Possibility Hyacin world with a hydrogen-rich atmosphere and an ocean-covered surface. James Webb Space Telescope collaboration with USA, NASA, ESA, European Space Agency, and the Canadian Space Agency, launched in December 21. Currently positioned at the Sun-Earth L2 landing point, around 1.5 million km from the Earth orbit. Largest and most powerful infrared space telescope. Objective: to explore cosmic history from the Big Bang to the evolution of galaxies, stars, planets, and our solar system. Coming to the question, the vision of Viksit Bharat requires a transformative approach to local governance. In light of this, discuss the key reforms needed in the Panchayat Raj system to make it more representative, responsive, accountable, and effective in driving grassroots development. Okay, so in the grand narrative of the Viksit Bharat, the local governance play a pivotal role in translating development policy into tangible outcomes at the okay. So the Panchayat Raj system entrenched in India's rural administrative fabrics in the enactment of the 7th Amendment stand as the footprint. Okay, so stand at the forefront of local governance paradigm. However, the fully realize the vision. Okay, the Panchayat Raj system entered in India's rural administrative fabric since the enactment amendment stands at the forefront of the local governance paradigm. However, to fully realize the vision of developed India, the system need to transformative overall, become more responsive, accountable, and effective. The 7th Amendment brought Panchayat Raj system in all the country, but after its implementation, it right now the time to review it. Decentralization of the power. Current states, Gram Panchayat lack sufficient autonomy despite legislative provision, which nominally devolve power to them. Okay. Enact and enforce law that substantively decentralize administrative and financial power, particularly in sector critical to rural development like agriculture and education. Capacity building of elected representatives. Current challenges: many panchayat members lack essential skills and knowledge affecting their performance and the delivery of services. Proposed reforms: implement continuous comprehensive training program and support mechanism that cover financial management, digital literacy and local governance. Technological integration: current state technological use in panchayat is minimal and often ineffective. Proposed reforms equip panchayat with the digital tool for better management and transparency. Encourage the use of online platform for civic management and service delivery. Fiscal autonomy and transparency. Current challenges: panchayat face financial dependency on higher. Okay, government ties leading to inefficient corruption. Proposed reforms ensure fiscal autonomy with a dedicated local budget. Okay. So fiscal autonomy and transparency. Current challenges: panchayat face financial dependency on higher government tie, leading to inefficiency and corruption. Proposed reforms ensure fiscal autonomy with dedicated local budget and strengthen auditing process to enhance financial transparency and accountability. Enhance accountability mechanism. Current state accountability mechanism are often weak and do not adequately involve the community. So proposed reform: establish robust feedback and grievance redressal system, conduct a regular social audit, and mandate public disclosure of expenditure and decisions. Inclusive governance. Current challenges: marginalized group, despite having reserved seats, remain unrepresented in actual government process because the issue of that Sarpanch Pati have emerged in the Panchayat Raj system, but the women remain a mere puppet in the hands of the male family members. Proposed reform: specific training and empowerment program for women and marginalized community to enhance their participation and decision making capacity. The vision of Viksit Bharat hangs not just on the policy crafted at the national level, but critically on the effectiveness with which they are implemented locally. Reforming the Panchayat Raj system is essential to empower rural India, making governance structure. Okay. So, reforming the panchayat system is essential to empower rural India, making governance structure not only more capable but also more effective of the democratic ethos of participation and inclusivity. Such reform will pave the way for a truly developed India, where development is both holistic and inclusive, reaching every village and every citizen. Coming to the MCQ, with reference to the supersonic missile assisted release of the torpedo system, it has been jointly developed by DIA Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. It carries the advanced lightweight torpedo missile as a payload with a parachute-based release mechanism. The missile-based mechanism can target aircraft hundreds of kilometers away. Two are correct, only one. Last one is incorrect. Consider the following statement regarding the street vending prohibition livelihood regulation act. Any person of 18 years of age who is street vendor can register with the concerned municipal corporation according to the act. The local authority cannot confiscate the good of the vendor according to the act. Every vendor has the right to relocate to a new area for the practice of the street vending after consultation with the town vending committee. So here only one is correct. That's one. So the following statement regarding the methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas with a lifespan of less than 5 years. Methane has a global warming potential of about 80 times greater than that of the carbon dioxide. Only methane emission do not contribute to ground level ozone formation. So only one is correct. With reference to the Indian Space Situational Assessment Report, consider the following statement. The report is jointly published by the Indian Space Research Organization and the Defence and Development Organization. Correct. The ISAR report 2023 highlighted the decreasing trend in collision avoided whenever free air indices decrease congestion in outer space. Both are correct here. With reference to the expanded program on immunization, how many of the following statements are correct? So it was launched by the World Health Organization, right? Okay. So the launch of EPI has helped eradicating measles globally. On the line of EPI, India also launched its indigenous immunization program known as the Universal Immunization Program. Herd immunity contribute to the success of EPI program by protecting individuals who are unable to receive vaccination. So here in question number 5, Okay. On the line of API, India also launched its indigenous immunization program on the universal immunization, herd immunity here. So only three are correct. So consider the following statement: right to strike is fundamental right of employee in India. Industrial Relation Code 2020 was introduced as penalty for illegal strike. That correct. India is not a signatory to the Labour Statistics Convention of 1985. So 2 and 3 are correct. Which of the following option is correct in reference to the objective of the Project Ishan? Project Ishan is a program for attempts to consolidate the coordination of domestic flight by the air traffic controller, coordinating the four major air traffic control in India right now. So the following statement: GSEC are issued by the central government of India. GSEC are liability issued by the tool of financing state government projects. GSEC in India is always issued in the form of equity shares. GSECs are considered. Okay, so here only two are correct. What is K218b? It is an satellite exoplanet. Okay. Consider the following statement regarding the James Webb Space Telescope. So it was primarily designed to study Earth atmosphere. No, operates in low Earth orbit. No, it is much higher, L2 point. So here none is correct. Neither one nor two. Thank you for watching. Keep watching regularly to update yourself. Thank you.